Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second week of Real Talk with Coach Tara. I'm super excited that you're here today, and I look forward to sharing with you a few things that I've learned over the past year and a half or so that have really helped me just open up my mind to accepting the possibilities of what it's really means to be an entrepreneur and really stretch ourselves. And it has a lot to do with your imagination, and it has a lot to do with your ability to accept and receive abundance in your business and in your life. So, first, let me introduce myself. If you don't know who I already am, my name is Tara Woodruff. I'm 43 years old. I'm a pretty new grandma. My granddaughter is going to be 3 years old in August. I live here in Holiday, Florida. I grew up in the Northeast in Montauk and spent a few years living in Maine as well. I've been in this industry a little bit like on and off throughout my whole life, between being an Avon lady, I don't know, 50, 100 times. However, I didn't really start taking network marketing seriously, or actually, like joined, I don't know, Avon's a really great business, but when I started becoming involved in the community of network marketers was back in the MySpace days, and it was with a company that doesn't even like to be called an MLM. Let's just leave it at that. And so basically, what it boils down to is I never really had success. I just started to let me mute Sarah. Mute. Hi, Sarah. Basically, what it boils down to, about 3.5 years ago or so, I went full-time, fell flat on my face a lot. Over the past 3 years, had some really serious struggles and didn't really start seeing some breakthroughs in my business and in my mindset till the past year and a half or so. So I wanted to teach you something that I know is going to totally hook your brain up. That I learned, it's a little bit of what I learned from Mark Hoverson and what he calls dreamscaping, and a little bit of just, common sense of certain things. So the purpose of today's broadcast, hangout, webinar, whatever you want to call it, is to help you really understand the entrepreneurial mindset, the imagination factor in your mindset, and how that's going to help you achieve your goals as a network marketer. Basically, I'm talking to network marketers out there, but if you're in e-commerce, you're in brick and mortar, you're still an entrepreneur, you've got to have that mindset. So one of the biggest things that stops us from achieving things is our inability to accept abundance, to accept praise, to accept that we're going to be moving forward and not self-sabotage. A lot of that comes from old paradigms that are taught to us growing up, especially in I'm not sure about the whole world. I like to think I'm worldly, but I'm not sure about the whole world. What I do know is in a Judeo-Christian society, it is frowned upon to be extra rich. We always think that the people with the money are the bad guys. We see all these multinational corporations, going around the world chopping down forests, enslaving populations. You've got places where they build phones in China where they actually have suicide nets out the windows because the employees are so unhappy they will take every opportunity they can to jump out the window. That's pretty sad. So sometimes when we think about money and we think about abundance, we think about the worst of it. What we forget is that being abundant and having a lot of money and being rich is not the problem. It's the person. It's always the person. So if you're not ready to accept that you may become richer beyond your wildest imagination one of these days, and you think that that's going to change you and turn you into a bad person or make you evil, what it means is that you really need to work on what's going on inside right now, because money's a magnifier. It's going to take whoever you are, and it's going to magnify you 10 times, 100 times, sometimes more times percent. So if you are uncomfortable with yourself and uncomfortable with thinking about abundance, and you immediately, what you're basically saying to yourself is, if I get rich, that means I'm a bad person. And that means that deep inside somewhere psychologically, you might actually think you're a bad person. Maybe you made a mistake and you just can't forgive yourself for it. Maybe it's just from the old paradigms that you've heard, like Mother Teresa, right? And I don't want to knock anybody here, but I'm going to bring out Mother Teresa. I'm going to put her at front and center. You know, she swore life to poverty because she thought that was so bad. Well, you know, there's a couple of things I could talk about with that. Being at rock bottom is overrated, okay? Let me explain this to you. Do you think that you could be of more help to the world and more money to do so? How many times do you walk past a homeless person and you look in their eyes and you say, man, I wish I had $5 on me. I wish I could go into the dollar store and buy a bag of brand new socks for them because that's like the greatest thing in the world. I wish I didn't always have to struggle every week just to get my bills paid. I wish that I could pay my bills. I wish that I could sponsor families at Christmas time, you know, people that are busting their butt working and they got kids, and maybe this is the first year that they're going to have to tell their kids that Santa might not be so real. Wouldn't you rather be in a position where you could change someone's life? So some people aren't in your position right now. Some people aren't looking to change their lives and become entrepreneurs and home-based business professionals. Some people just, you know, they just want to get to work and they just want to go get their paycheck and have that false sense of security. And some people just can't turn it around. And is it someone's fault? You know, I don't know. It doesn't matter. What matters is if you could really make a difference on this world, and all that it would take is for you to change your ideas about abundance, allow yourself to start receiving abundance, allow yourself to put yourself in the position where you could really make a difference in people's lives, you wouldn't be it wouldn't be so difficult for you to achieve it. I'm going to give you like a situation scenario. I was talking with my daughter and my son-in-law the other night, or maybe it was last night, it could have been the night before, I don't remember. But we were talking about the fact that rock bottom's overrated. Now, we know this really intimately here in this house. All of us know it really intimately in this house. Hard work doesn't necessarily mean you're going to become rich. But there's one thing for sure, if you want to become rich, you better be ready to do some hard work. And I would have to say probably 80% of that hard work is going to be done in here and in here. So the reason why I say rock bottom is overrated is because let's look at how hard it is for the average self-made millionaire to generate that first $1 million that they make in their businesses. Think about that. Now, I'm not going to knock. I would say 80% of all self-made millionaires, or all millionaires, are self-made. They come from different backgrounds, different levels of poverty, different struggles. You know, there's a bunch of billionaires that are like orphans that grew up in state homes and stuff like that. But that's not what did it. That's not what brought them from 1 million to 1 billion. So it's really smart that you are intellectual enough and emotionally intellectual enough to understand that you can use your downsides, you can use your struggles and your challenges to kind of propel you up. But if that were the case, if that was the only secret to success, was to be at rock bottom or have your back against the wall, there would be a lot more millionaires rising up right now. There are so many poor people on this planet right now that cannot get out of there. And you know what? It's really hard to be creative with your money. It's really hard to be generous in your mind if you're fucking hungry. Okay, so the first $1 million that a self-made millionaire makes is the hardest $1 million they ever make. It's the absolutely hardest $1 million they ever make. And you know what? Making $1 million doesn't make you a very rich person on this planet. It just doesn't. Not if that's all you make in your whole lifetime. It'll take you, the average working man, 40 years at $27,000 or so, maybe, I think it's $40,000 to make $1 million. So think about that. Now, once a person's decided that they're going to be a professional home-based business owner, entrepreneur, brick and mortar, they have ideas and they're going to build this incredible thing and they're going to go for it. Once they've hit that first $1 million, the time between the first million and the second million is way smaller than it was to hit the first. And the time between the second million and the third million is even way, way, way smaller than the second. And definitely way smaller than the first. So your number one goal should be to hit your first $1 million. Because after that, the tipping point has happened and the momentum is going, and you're going to have times after you've created that kind of abundance in your life where you're going to fall down, you're going to have to get back up. But like I said, the first million is the hardest. So even if you lost all of the first, your second million will be easier to attain. Now, what would you do? Let's think of this real quick before I get on to the part that's going to help you really break out of the shell there. If you knew that you could live very, very, very comfortably on $100,000 a year, and you knew that you could own your house outright and drive your car, and you could send your kids to school, and you knew that you could eat good organic food, and that you could even have a landscaper, maybe even somebody come to the house once a month and help you clean, maybe once a week, just really comfortable living, nothing extravagant, nothing too, you never worry. If your credit card bill comes in, you pay it. You don't even use credit cards anymore because you have cash in your pocket. If you knew that that's all you needed to live that way, and you made $1 million a year, think about what that $900,000 can do. What if you made your first million and you knew you didn't need the second one, but it was exciting to make it anyway, and you're able to create those millions much faster now because you've gone through that first million, you know what it takes, you've made all the mistakes, you've pinned it down. Imagine if you could give $1 million away to whatever it is that makes your heart sing, to whatever it is that really brings value to the world for you. So let's think about that for 1 second. So I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. The other day I received an email from a fellow network marketer, home-based business professional. He used to be a colleague of mine in the company I was in, and he sent me an email, and in the email it wasn't about making a bunch of money. It was about being able to tell a story in order to sell, right? And we all know, you probably know, and if you don't know that now, you will notice if you pay attention to your own buying habits, you will buy things that are attached to stories and emotional triggers and stuff like that. However, during the audio that he had sent me was a Mark Hoverson audio, and I love Mark Hoverson. I absolutely adore him. And it was a talk that he gave at one of Ray Higdon's events, and he was talking about storytelling. Now, what he did, though, in his speech was he told his story, and he told a very serious story. And there's something that's really miraculous about it that I want to touch on right now, is when he went from the rock bottom. He was a heavy drinker. He couldn't afford the gasoline to keep the heat on in the trailer. He was qualified for welfare. I don't think he took it, but he was qualified. He worked his business in a library. And some nights they didn't have anything to eat, and he was struggling. And when he decided to go into the home-based business world, into network marketing and direct response, he started working with a company where he was selling travel stuff, and the basic commission was $1,000. It was a high-ticket item, and he was able to start developing and moving forward in that. And as he was doing that, he had asked his wife, Shannon, you pick the goal. What should be my goal? What should be my goal, right? And she's like, $8,000 a month would be really great. And he immediately, no, that's too much. We don't need that much. That's being greedy. And I don't know whether or not she smacked him in the side of the head, or whether he just started to really wake up to it, that's not. And now Mark is in the position where he makes several million a year, and he pays people $100,000 or so a month. You know what I'm saying? If he had settled for that $8,000 a month, and he initially rebuked it, imagine the lives that wouldn't have been changed, the people that wouldn't have been touched. So this is what he started to do as he was working towards that $8,000 a month goal, is he started to go work out. Now he's getting his bills paid, right? And he's eating, and his family's eating, and he's not on empty all the time in the car. He starts working on his physical body, and he goes out jogging. And every time that he took another step in his jog, he would think $1,000, $1,000, $1,000. And towards the end of that year, it turns out he made close to $100,000 that first year, which is crazy. Don't expect that, guys. It's unheard of. But for some reason, it happened for him. And there's a combination of things that could have happened for him. That first year, he makes close to $100,000, and he thinks to himself, "This is good. I want to shoot for a new number. I want to shoot for a new thing, you know. And he started saying to himself, $1 million, $1 million every time he went jogging, every step, $1 million, $1 million. And shortly after that, within the first few months of that next year, of the second year, he made $1 million. And before the end of that second year, he made several. Now, we're talking about a guy that comes from a background, parents who are lower middle class, always struggling, always sweating to get the bills paid. We're talking about a guy that as an adult literally just couldn't get things done. It just wasn't working. You know, he has a really sad story about how the gas guy came out to, he ran out of gas. You know, he had natural gas to heat the house. And he called up the guy. He just called up the company, and they came out to fill the tank. And he told the guy that he didn't have any money. You know, they lived in a really cold place. So there's something that he developed that I learned that for me, it really just helped me kind of relax about it. You know, because I've always been the type of person that would self-sabotage, that would totally, as soon as things started going good, I'd go do something stupid. You know, when I was a teenager, I used to party really hard. And I remember I got to the point in senior year in high school where I was like going to NA and stuff. You know, I was like, I need to quit this. I want to live, you know. And sure enough, I'd come on to that day where I'd get the keychain that had, 30-day mark on it, and I'd go out and get fucked up. So I knew that as an adult that if I really wanted to break through, that I needed to start embracing my greatness and start allowing myself to feel the abundance and accept the abundance and expect the abundance. And know that it's okay, that it doesn't make me bad, it doesn't make me evil. And that's when I came across Mark Hogerson's Dreamscape class. It's a class. He did for like a corporation or something like that, and they recorded it and he sold it. And I'm going to go over a few of the things that have to do with that. Is there anybody that have any questions? I'm going to open the question. I want to see if there's any questions before I go on. I just opened up the Q&A. If you're watching on YouTube or watching on the event, you can ask a question right now, and then I'm going to get into kind of a very abridged version of what Mark taught me about dreamscaping and how to open your mind up. So give it a second. I know there's a 20-second delay. I'm going to have a sip of coffee. I don't see one, so I'm going to go back to regular chat because I do have a couple of people on the panel, and maybe they have a question. Anybody over here have a question? Okay, doesn't look like it. Well, anyway, this is a very abridged version. First of all, I don't own this idea. I don't think he does either, but he makes money on it. I'm sure it's copyrighted, so keep that in mind. I'm not going to try to give you word for word or even give you the full spectrum of it because it's just not mine to give you. However, I'm going to give to you what the best thing about it is and how it really changed my life. Now, you may have heard of that. I've seen a lot of webinars on this. Describe your perfect day and then write that down every day and read that every day. And that is very good. But this is very, very different. We're not talking about your perfect average day. We're not talking about the perfect average day. We're talking about the kind of things that if you stretch your imagination to this most extreme amount of luxury that you could even possibly imagine and start applying that to your mind about your own life. So there's going to be 3 different sections that I'm going to talk about. I think there's 5 in Mark's training, but these are the 3 that really hit home for me. Number 1, like your feel-good stuff, your personal feel-good stuff. Now, as a woman, I personally would love to get a massage at least once a week. I would like to have my hair done once a month. I would like to have a facial. And these are things that I'm thinking of for myself is just like, whoa. Imagine if I had the money to be able to get my hair done the way I want it done. I don't want to go to Sam's. I want to get my hairs done. I want a $200 haircut and color every single month. I'm talking about a $150 60-minute massage. I'm not talking about a 35-minute massage at some chain massage place. I want you to really think about the most incredible kinds of things that you would like to start incorporating into your life, or that you would be really excited that you have, or that if you achieved it, you would finally know that you had arrived. Like when I can schedule and attend a monthly or a weekly massage every week, I'll know that I've made it. When I can go to the hairstylist once a month and get a trim and a touch up on my color every 30 days, I know I'll have arrived. You know, back when I was a bartender in the 90s, I used to get my nails done every week. And I didn't go to just anybody, because I didn't live where there was just anybody available. We just did not have storefronts with people that did nails. You had to pay. And I used to, I think my monthly nail budget was something like $250 a month, maybe more. And they were acrylics, and I always had to have my nails black, so she had to work harder on them, and I always tipped really well, and I went to saw her every week. Now, that would be really cool if I could do something like that again, you know, and have the nails done really well, and not just, you know, somebody taking a drum into my hands. You know what I'm saying? So think about some things like that. Like, would you like to be able to go out to eat to a 4-star restaurant every single week on a date night with your partner? Would you like on another night of the week to go out to like your favorite pizza place with the family? Would you like to have a movie night with the family? How about movie night in a car that someone drives you to the movies? Think about all those. Would it be really amazing if you had a live-in nanny? Would that be something that you'd be interested in? Allow yourself to really just sit back and think about not your perfect normal day, but your perfect billionaire day. And I want you to allow yourself to stretch your mind for it. I'm thinking I want to come up with some really cool stuff. I didn't prepare any slides or anything like that, but if you all know, I love to blog. I'm a professional blogger, and I have a blog. I haven't written on it in a few days, maybe more than that, maybe a month. But I have this blog called Dream Big Estates, and all I do is I research really high-end real estate, super high-end real estate, and look for stuff that I would love to live in, and then I write a blog about it. Most of it's just a listing, and I link back to the listing, and as many pictures as I can gather from the listing. And it makes me feel so good imagining myself, you know, there's one with a castle where Richard the Lionheart was known to visit. And one of the fireplaces had a big lion, and it's a fireplace that's so tall you could walk into it. You know? I can easily imagine myself in a place like that. And not so long ago, I would find myself feeling guilty about thinking about living that large. When people say, I could never live in a house that big, it would never, no, you know, that's probably not true. You might not want to live in a gigantic castle with a moat and a couple of thousand square feet, or more than that, maybe tens of thousands of square feet. Maybe you don't want to live like that, but could you? You sure could. Imagine if you could bring everybody with you. Imagine if you had an entourage of people that you would love to, that you think would be awesome to live with. Imagine if you had a place for people to stay when they came to visit. Imagine living in a castle. Now imagine yourself living in something like a 10,000 square foot mansion or cottage on Long Island and looking out at the Atlantic Ocean, or in Malibu or Northern California. Think about Cabo San Lucas and these incredible houses that are up on these towering cliffs overlooking the ocean. There's a piece of property in Greece for sale. It doesn't have any buildings, just a couple of little buildings on it. And it's, I don't know, some insane acreage. It's an island. Imagine what you could do with that. If you were able to own something like that, imagine what you could do with something like that. Imagine the impact you could have just on yourself. Think about when you are When you see somebody driving a really, really nice car, maybe you live in a place where actually once in a while you'll see a Ferrari, or once in a while you'll see an Aston Martin. When you see it, what does it make you feel like? Does it make you pissed off? Do you get jealous? Do you call good-looking people stuck up? When you see somebody at the store and they pull out their wallet and you know that the wallet, because you secretly wish you had one, you know that that wallet's a Coach wallet and that wallet probably cost them $500, and they're carrying around their money in a $500 wallet. So, God, imagine they could lose the wallet, lose the $500 they spent on the wallet and all the money in it and whatever credit. Do you get nervous for them? Do you start feeling like that for them? Do you start getting jealous? When you can start imagining having something that you don't even need just for the sake of knowing that you can have it, even if you don't decide to keep it. There's a mentor of mine, his name is David Wood. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He actually did this. He met this gentleman. I can't remember the whole story, but he had this crazy Rolex watch, this $100,000 watch. I don't know, some crazy money. Could buy this house 4 times, easy. And he met this guy, and the guy's like, "It's not the watch, it's getting it. It's not the watch. Get it." And David busted his butt, did his thing, and he got it. He finally was able to purchase one. And he got it, and he didn't think he could care less about it. He gave it away in a contest, and one of the people in his company actually won it in a contest, and they have it like on their desk to look at. When you buy a pen, do you want to just get a Jinhao, $3 pen from China? Even though it writes probably as good as a Mont Blanc, it's not a Mont Blanc. But imagine having the kind of taste and affluence in your own life that you could purchase a pen that you only use for signing major contracts with. Right? So picture yourself owning, a $20,000 Mont Blanc and using that pen to sign those major contracts with, to sign the house contract, sign the business contract, to sign those big contracts with, and the rest of the time it goes back in its box and sits there as a reminder that you've made it. Do you think that when you have something that does cost a lot of dollars, that it's taking away from somebody else's dollars? Because it can't be true. Because then if you were to look at health in that way, if you were to say, hey, I probably shouldn't go jogging, and I probably shouldn't start watching what I eat, and it would be no good for me to feel good all the time, because if I was to be healthy physically and emotionally, and I never got sick, and I ate really good food, that means that I'm making someone else sick. I'm making someone else fat. I'm making someone else not feel good. I'm making somebody have a bad emotional state because I'm living a healthy life. So I better not allow myself to be healthy so that somebody else doesn't have to be sick. If you know how absurd that sounds, it's the same with money. Money it's really just a tool. It's just a part of the vibration of who we are. You might be really happy in a tiny house. I actually have like this crazy, affinity for tiny houses, although I probably would never want to live in one. Yeah, I can't imagine, but I can see when I see a tiny house, I see this awesome master suite, is what I see. A super master suite that like every teenager would ever dream of having, with its own kitchen and a bathroom. And I get to sleep up in a loft. Like I could see myself having a village of these things and having maybe an earth house as the main house where everyone comes and hangs out and goes to the refrigerator and eats dinner and stuff, and then a big outdoor area. Then all of us go off to our bedrooms, and our bedrooms are our own tiny houses. I can see that. Way, way more than I can see just a small tiny house. Maybe for you, just being happy doesn't have to include all those financial things, but do you look at financial abundance in a negative way? When you see someone else living in a large house and driving a car that they don't need it. There's nothing you need about an Aston Martin, except for maybe the purr of that engine. Does it upset you when people do choose that? Does it make you a better person because you don't choose it for yourself? So when the homework I'm going to give you is, I want you to sit down and I want you to write out 3 different areas your home, and under the home title on your paper, I want you to add like cars, okay? And I want you to describe your dream home. And I'm talking no holds barred. I don't care if what you really wish to live in is a tiny home made out of clay out in Arizona, okay? If in your mind, when you think grand, you see a mountain home Sugarloaf or something. If that's what the grandest you can think of, when you think of grand, I want you to write that down. I want you to start getting connected with feeling good about that. Even if that's not where you're going. Even if you made $1 million today, you would not spend your money that way. Because you know what it is? The people that do spend their money that way, that spend their money big, I'm not talking about people that are a slave to debt. I'm talking about people that have a lot of money. They don't buy those things first. They don't buy those things first. What they invest in first is this. They invest in their education. They invest in their health. Now, imagine if I was to have all the money that I wanted right now, what would I do for my body? What would I do for my body? Outside of what I could do right here for free. I would have all my teeth fixed. I might even Botox that line. I don't know. I might hire a chef to prepare my meals so that I eat really well no matter what. That I don't actually tempt myself with my own preparation of food. Think about that for a minute. Imagine if you could spend your time working on only things that you love doing, and you could outsource everything else. You know what kind of money and abundance you generate in the economy? Think about that. What if you hate folding clothes? You hate doing laundry. I don't mind doing laundry. I don't like putting it away. I want nothing to do with putting it away. If I turned the camera around and showed you my closet, I have a bunch of clothes hung up, and then the rest of it is folded clothes in the bins. It never makes it to a drawer. If it was hung up before I wore it, it's probably not going to get back on the hanger. I would hire someone just to hang my clothes up and get them put away nice. Abso-freaking-lutely. If I wanted to go see my friends up in where I grew up in the Northeast, if I wanted to go to Montauk for the week, I would much prefer getting on a private jet than I would having to go through TSA like every other schmo does. And it wouldn't bother me one bit. And it's not because I'm not a good person. It's not because I wouldn't give things away. It's because I finally allowed myself to understand what it is I truly think is just okay. You know, it's just okay to have the money to do it. Doesn't mean you have to choose it all the time, but it can't be. You can't not choose abundance in your life because you think it makes you bad. Because all that's saying to yourself, and you keep solidifying it in your own mind, even if you don't understand what's being done, you're telling your subconscious that you really believe you're evil. And that's some serious psychological issues that you've got to work out. So it's time for you to pick something, write out the house, and dress that house up all the way. If money were no object, I want you to design your perfect life. If money were no object in the world, if it didn't matter at all, with no object, I want you to think about that. How would you vacation? How would you vacation? How would you get your kids off to school? Would you wake up at 5:30 in the morning and get your kids off to school? Or would you hire a tutor to come to the house and teach them in the house? Or would it be really cool if you had like a wing just for school so that they are homeschooled, but they're not really like in your house? They're like not with you all day long. They're with the teacher and they're learning. Would that be cool? I think that's awesome. Imagine, I want you to really go for it with this. If money were no object, I want you to talk about, and this is for you only. You don't have to show your priest. You don't have to show anybody. I want you to feel good when you read that list. I want you to feel good when you think about all the different things that you would do for yourself, for your family, for your living environment, if money were not an object. What would you do at Christmas time? Like I always say, sponsor a family. I love that. Actually, our family got sponsored one year for a whole year by some random billionaire we never met, don't know who it is, doesn't matter. They never asked for a thank you. And what they did is they selected randomly, just from observing people in the town, one family a year. And I don't know what the monetary thing was, but they basically took a lot of the edge off. Now, he couldn't have done it if he settled for a job at McDonald's. He couldn't have done it if he thought that $15 an hour was okay. He couldn't have done it if he settled for what people say makes you a good person. He couldn't have done that for us if he had taken the vow of poverty. It couldn't happen. So decide for yourself that you're going to be the best you can be for this world, and really just sit down and write that stuff down. Write it down. I really, really want to encourage you that. I want to ask let's look at questions. I'm going back to the Q&A because I don't want to just keep rambling, but I want you to write down the house, cool, Juanita. I want you to think about who you can help. You know, one of my goals is I want to actually be the finance funder of 1 million urban farms, mini farms. Like, not just a community garden. I want to have like a full city block with goats, chickens, and vegetables, all organically raised and tended by the neighborhood, so that people can come and get real food. I want them to be taught how to process their own meats, make sure they get the eggs, take care of the vegetables without causing any damage to the environment. Because you know what? Billionaires eat organic food all the time, and there's no reason why. And that's the thing, guys. That's what I really want to impart upon this with you. If you're hungry, you're not gonna go past a certain point. People don't really start producing really big change in this world until they are fed. Until they feel like they are fed. So rock bottom is totally overrated. If you don't have to go there, don't. If you've been there, just use it as an idea that where you're not going back to. Don't put yourself at rock bottom just because you think you need that to propel yourself forward, because you don't need it. You don't need it. Because there's nothing worse and unproductive about being hungry. Remember when I told you guys that I was working in that health and wellness business, and I was hungry enough to get to that library every week, 70 hours, but I wasn't hungry enough to stay inside of, real systems that could help me build my business. I was so afraid about making my next check in my home-based business when all I did was spam all day. It's so much more comfortable to be alive and healthy when you're not worried about where that money comes from anymore. That you know that everything you're doing is producing abundance in your life, and it's just going to keep happening, and you're going to be on a roll. It's much easier to work when you're fed. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. Stay hungry here, but not hungry here, because when you're hungry here, you do crazy shit. More crime is committed based on the inability to be able to make the bills. More violence against one another. Number one cause of divorce is money. Why not eliminate that problem and make as much of it as you possibly can and change your life? So I think that's it, guys. If there's any other questions, hi, Juanita. I say hello. Let me see if there's just good stuff. Awesome. And let me see the chat real quick. You guys have anything you want to say? I'm going to see if I can drag out my old notes and maybe put them in the Home-Based Business Pros group. I think that's a really good idea, so you guys can kind of look at what I wrote before, and it might be able to give you some ideas, give you some really good ideas. I'm going to end with one really cool idea that Mark uses inside of that training. He always wondered about, he's not a girly guy at all. Not at all, but he always wanted to get a proper shave. And now, and the first time that he experienced one, he went to this guy, and this guy does this awesome lemon sugar thingy on his face and gives him a proper straight edge shave. Now he does it once a week. Treat yourself to something extravagant now. Even if you have to do it without money. Even if you have to make it yourself. Maybe you want to have a filet mignon. You need to go out there and get a steak and make a filet mignon. Maybe it doesn't have to be in the restaurant yet, but maybe you can start experiencing it and making this stuff happen in your mind and letting yourself feel really good about it and know that it's okay to be abundant. Because without that, you're not going to help anybody else get abundant either. I love you all very much. Thank you so much. Don't forget, join the Home-Based Business Pros group, and I will put my notes in there, whether I have to take pictures of it or type it out onto a PDF, whatever, and I'll see you all very soon. Thank you so much. Bye.